to Unravel with Natalie Denise.
Hey guys, what's going on? I know I'm really late today. I'm sorry. I apologize. I have been tied up. So anyway, I hope you guys had a great weekend. I actually really had a really good weekend because I actually relaxed and I needed to mentally take a break for those 2 days. So I'm really glad I had that weekend. Um, let's see what's going on. February 5th, this Saturday, actually, I will be speaking at the Save Texas rally in Austin, Texas. For those that are in Texas, I would highly encourage you to attend this. So that's February 5th, savetexasrally.com in Austin, Texas at the Capitol. So I encourage you all again. See, let's take a look at the chat here. What's up, Keem? What's up, Ken? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it. Today's probably going to be a short one. I really lost track of time, so I'm going to try to make this one a quickie. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right. First up, so this was actually reported over the weekend that a former Miss USA jumped to her death from a Manhattan high-rise. And I always grow weary of these stories where people jump to their death off of these high-rises. You know, there's just a lot of really weird detail. A lot of times these people's story don't really have conclusive details, and so it makes me very weary. Another one that it was very speculative was Steve Bing. You guys remember that story? Steve Bing was very connected. We'll just say that he also died the same way. And so let's go ahead and get into this one. Broken-hearted grandfather of former Miss USA who jumped to her death from Manhattan high-rise early Sunday said he was stunned by the loss of such a fantastic, kind, and generous woman. She was only 30 years old. Christ, who was found on the sidewalk next to her luxury apartment building in Hell's Kitchen at 7:59 a.m. on Sunday, was last seen on a 29th floor terrace of a building when she lived alone in a 9th floor apartment. To be extinguished so fast is just devastating, her grandfather, Gary Simpkins, said on Monday. So hard to imagine 1 minute they're there and 1 minute they're not, and now you know the only way you'll ever know again is if you yourself pass away. Christ, who is one of 6 siblings, had recently traveled to South Carolina to spend the holidays with her mother and a former beauty queen, along with her brothers and sisters. Simpkins spoke fondly about his granddaughter, remembering her infectious laugh and her empathy towards others. She felt for other people, he told the New York Daily News from his home in Rock Hill, South Carolina on Monday. Continued on. This is just very gruesome and scary. She tried to help other people. She was just one of the very rare people that had a heart for people. This is just very, it's very impactful, this image. I mean, just like a 30-year-old, she's so young. Simpkins' other described Chris as a fantastic person. In devastation and great sorrow, we share the passing of our beloved Chesley, the family said in a statement. In a haunting essay last March, just 10 months before leaping to her death, Chris talked about the fear that she was running out of time to matter. She wrote about being trolled online and how winning Miss USA at the age of 28 made her a target for ageist bullies. But many of her friends said on Monday that they were stunned by her death and had no clue that she might have been suffering mental health issues. See, this is the part that really gets me, you know, these parts where it's like, you know, people are so surprised and that this is something that they never would have, I don't know, like they never would have fathomed what happened to their friend. Continued on. Publicly, she never shared any particular struggles with mental health. In 2019, she said that she spoke often with a counselor to keep her mind healthy, but there was no indication that she was in any form of distress. Police sources tell Daily Mail that she left a suicide note on her computer. The only person who really knows what happened went off the building. We're doing what we can to investigate what's left. Preliminary, it doesn't appear to any criminality to it. The prevailing theory is that it was suicide. No evidence has come forward that would charge that theory that has been point at this point, but we're not ruling anything out at this point, they said. Chris is the oldest person who won, Miss USA, who's also strayed from the norm with her passion for social justice, as she's a trained lawyer and Black Lives Matter advocate. She stopped practicing law. It says that she was, sick of the microaggressions that came with the environment. I just don't understand. Here's the Allure magazine part. This is what she said she said hauntingly, it says, each time I say I'm turning 30, I cringe a little. Sometimes I can successfully mask this uncomfortable response with excitement. Other times my enthusiasm feels hollow, like bad acting. Turning 30 feels like a cold reminder that I'm running out of time in matter in society's eyes, and infuriating. She told how she won the pageant in 2019. And then it continues on that, that she had also been bullied. My challenge of the status quo certainly caught the attention of trolls. I can't tell you how many times I have deleted comments in my social media pages that had vomit emojis, insults telling me I wasn't pretty enough to be Miss USA, or my muscular build was actually a man body. And I understand, like, these people are so relentless. It's disgusting. People who have these types of comments when, it's not necessarily, all these things are not true. Chesley, she definitely looked like to be a very beautiful young woman. And even at 30 years old, you are really, really young. You're just, I mean, I'm 32 and I still feel young. So, this to me is just very strange. I mean, I'm not discounting that it could be that she had mental issues. I don't know. Like, I just have some dependable context clues when I look at these types of situations to, kind of give off whether or not this looks to be believable. And it definitely doesn't seem to be. So anyway, she was Miss USA in 2019, 30 years old, jumped, according to reports, jumped to her death. And I don't know. To me, I'm very skeptical about that story, especially those deaths when young people jump to their death. I don't know. It's just, it's a lot. Anyway, let's pivot the story. It's a very morbid story. I apologize for that. Next story coming from Daily Mail. Spotify users shares recover after Joe Rogan's mea culpa over the poke in the arm controversy, as more of these, I guess, music artists have threatened that they're going to remove their music alongside with Neil Young. And it's obnoxious. Taylor Swift fans call on her to pull her music from the streaming service. Neil Young and others accuse platform of spreading misinformation about the cocoa. Continued on, Spotify's share price climbed back on Monday after Joe Rogan addressed the controversy surrounding his views on the cocoa poke in the arm late Sunday night, as the fans called Taylor Swift to pull her music, and Joni Mitchell by pulling her music as well. Last week, Young told Spotify, hey, if you don't run me, it's either me or it's Joe Rogan. Which one you going to choose? And Spotify said, Joe Rogan kind of wins on this one, guys, so you can go ahead and pull your music. So they pulled his music. And, Joe Rogan, as you guys know, he's one of the podcasters, right? He's like the most popular podcaster in the world. Who is going to pull his show over, a fractional amount of downloads? They're not going to do that. So now the fans of Taylor Swift are really, really coming at her. So here are the fans. The fact that Taylor Swift could probably end Joe Rogan with one tweet to Spotify. Another person says the way Taylor Swift could end. Oh, it's the same tweet. Patiently waiting for Taylor Swift to end Spotify. It's just crazy. So a lot of these people. So it's not necessarily Taylor Swift herself, but she could get influence, definitely. So but we can't just implicate that she's going to do it. But her fan. I mean, it's just cancel culture is so strange. So Spotify since then says that it's going to add an advisory content warning to any episodes concerning cocoa, which will link to a hub providing easy access to data-driven facts, up-to-date information as shared by scientists, physicians, academics, and public health authorities around the world, as well as links to trusted sources, the company said in a statement. We will also begin testing ways to highlight our platform rules and our creator and publisher tools to raise awareness around what's acceptable and help creators understand what their accountability is for the content they put. I mean, it's like these are adults. These are adult people. Like these are adults. You know, like parental advisory labels. Understand that? Like it's like a parental advisory label, but for adults, because they're discussing the cocoa. They mentioned something about Prince Harry. Rogan spoke hours after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were in touch with Spotify to express their concerns to the outlet that could be spreading planpocalypse related misinformation. My goodness. I mean, the like audacity of these two people. They want to be treated like royalty, although they like willingly left royalty. So they're detailing content, procedures, and all these things on Spotify. I mean, this is just so much. It's just so much. These are adults. We're all adults, you know, like you need warnings to hear certain pieces of content. We're all adults. It's good. It's crazy. Ken says, I heard he got $1.5 million from the guy that was CEO from the Fi-Fi poke in the arm. The Fi-Fi poke in the arm. Sanity. All right, told you guys this was going to be a quick run through today. So we're going to go ahead and transition into the daily traffic, where I bring you the latest in human and sex trafficking news. Fisheries, crime tied to explosives, drugs, human trafficking. This is from France, Lyon, France. Fisheries crime is linked to other serious crimes, such as human trafficking and the smuggling of drugs and explosives. Interpol's environmental and maritime security teams reported after 5-month intelligence operation spanning 34 countries in all oceans. During the operation, the International Police Force learns that the current depletion of marine living resources is driving a surge in fisheries-related crime. A total of 1,700 inspections carried out during 1 month. Tactical phase of Interpol's Operation Ikateri uncovered over 100 cases of fisheries and other crimes. As you guys know or may not know, fishing is a big time labor trafficking thing in the industry. A lot of these countries, they force people against their will, even children. I've seen a clip where there was a little boy coming out the boat. He was terrified. He didn't want, I think it was like the reporter, there was like a rescuer. They wanted to take him out that life. And he was terrified. You know, in this clip, he was just crying and he was telling them to leave him alone, that he was going to get in big trouble. I mean, they will use fear-based coercion for something as little as fishing. More than 40 arrest warrants have been issued, while many investigations remain ongoing. Nearly 1 ton of illicit products were seized worldwide, including protected fish and wildlife species, drugs, and explosives. Law enforcement in Montenegro alone recovered more than 20 cylinders of explosives during the operation. The use of explosives, as a legal fishing method is growing trend amongst the industry's unscrupulous actors as the progressive depletion of fish stocks pushes vessels to maintain catch rates at any cost, says Lana Del Wild, Interpol's director of organized and emerging crime. Their use also boosts the circulation of explosives that can be used by criminal or terrorist groups. Bomb makers behind terrorist attacks in recent years have been found to also be providing explosives to illegal fishing, the industry said. Blast fishing is extremely short-sighted fishing method that causes and destroys a coral reef on which fisherfolk depend, said Dirker Tamelender, head of the coral reef unit at the UN Environment. It's also very dangerous for the fishermen themselves. So anyway, with that being said, this is one of the more dangerous crimes that are actually not talked about. Again, it's dangerous because, you know, they do have to go out and you know, obtain the fish, if you will, but also they they use fear-based coercion to keep these people in the life. All right, pivoting to the next story. This is coming from WIRX.com. Lawmaker seeks housing options for human trafficking survivors. The Michigan House Appropriations Subcommittee on the Department of Wealth and Human Services Wednesday discussed housing options for the victims of human trafficking. Chair Representative Mary Whiteford says that when someone is able to escape human trafficking situation, they need a place to turn. This has been a very ongoing situation and problem. I have reiterated that there are at least, or at max, I should say, 800 beds in the United States for human trafficking survivors. And this is a big problem. They say, today we focused on safe housing options for survivors, Whiteford said. Over the years, I've heard the number one issue that is faced and the number one reason why a survivor can succeed or fail in reclaiming their life is making sure that they have a safe place to go. So the reason why is because these people oftentimes, these survivors, they go to prison or they go to jail. There's not enough housing or bedding for them. Whiteford says the question of this is next for human trafficking victims is important that the panel heard a good information from a variety of sources. She added, it's important to stay aware of signs of human trafficking, which often involves someone being forced into prostitution. This is the National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Right. Next story coming from Midlands, tiny homes. So I thought that this story upon each other was pretty interesting because one story seeking resources for homes and beds for survivors, and this could possibly be the resource for that. Now, this is coming from Florida. Tiny homes to provide a haven for human trafficking survivors. Carla Sweeney is running a sober living house in Jacksonville 3 years ago when she first learned about sex trafficking. A social services colleague called and asked if she had a space for women who was trying to escape such sexual exploitation. At the time, there were no beds available for her city, not one. I had no experience in human trafficking whatsoever, no knowledge of it. Had not been aware how prevalent it is in Duval County. Not one clue, Sweeney said. Sweeney and Amy Kilgore, a co-founder at the Sober Living House, did some digging and decided to give the woman a bed at Awakening's house. We never would have asked this question before, but we try to serve our community with grace and mercy, Sweeney said. That was a pretty powerful moment. That was also a big moment for my world opening up and changing. It was so powerful that last year, she and Donna Fenchel, a local entrepreneur, also wanted to help human trafficking victims, began an initiative to address the housing shortage. After 2 years of research and visits to other support programs, they are building the Villages of Hope, a tiny home community for women survivors of human trafficking and prostitution. The first 2 residents are expected to arrive in March. We get phone calls all the time, Sweeney said. These girls would have a safe place to lay their head on so they could start healing. During January 11th, National Human Trafficking Awareness Day event in Florida State College at Jacksonville, Sweeney said the local housing shortage was critical with only 4 beds available that day. That's 4 beds for the inner city, ranks 3rd in trafficking cases in Florida, the state that ranks 3rd in the number of cases nationwide. 4 beds is really, really bad. That's right, 4. 4. That's how critical it is. 4. It's that critical. We're going to need everybody's help to get it resolved, she said. Donna and I are trying to do our part towards a solution. One of the speakers at FSCJ event was a survivor, Lisa Sheehan, who said she was first exploited at age 4, sexually assaulted in a foster home age 12, and later worked at a massage parlor for a pimp, and she was regularly raped and beaten. She didn't know she was being trafficked, didn't even know what it meant until she was an adult. Everyone is looking for a place to stay and something to eat, or fell in love with a trafficker, she said. They don't feel like they're being exploited often. They feel loved or nurtured. No child or person should have to guess what love feels like. No child or person should mistake pain for love. Sheehan grew up in Massachusetts. Her parents met at an AA meeting, and she was conceived while they were drunk at a bar. I come home from a long line of abuse, drug addiction, mental health issues, she said. It was just my normal. I have little knowledge of what a healthy relationship looks like. And a lot of times this is true with victims. They are coerced into this life. They are sold that, this is love. If you love me, you're going to do this. So this is like Romeo pimping 101. She survived with the support of her maternal grandma with a few social workers who stuck with her. After moving to New Orleans with a friend, she turned her life around and began work with the mental health field, helping other people in crisis. Now she's studying toward a licensed clinical social worker degree at FSCJ. She is also a survivor mentor at Dolores Barr. So, they're in the movement to work against and fight against human trafficking, her and other panelists. And, they are, they realize that this is a problem, the housing. This is like one of the biggest things is the housing. Villages of Hope truly giving hope. Giving trafficking victims a place to start anew has become a passion for Sweeney and Fenchel, who met at the nonprofit trail. Fenchel spent 8 years to the corporate world and later became a co-owner of several Jacksonville area Orange Theory fitness locations, founded their charity Arm Connections to Hope. It's been tugging on my heart for a long time, Fenchel said. I was looking for a way to make a difference. She was stunned at the lack of local beds for victims. Housing is the number one issue. 4 beds in Jacksonville is not acceptable. And again, 800 beds or less in the United States is also as unacceptable. Now, this is definitely, one of the strivings of, Counter Trafficking Alliance, my organization, which, by the way, ding, ding, ding. Recently, I just got in the mail. I applied November 1st. They received my application November 10th. And in January, I barely got it back that I was approved to be a 501c3. So yay for me. And I've been waiting to give that news out. But yes, I'm finally approved for 501c3. And I know, a lot of people have their reservations about 501c3, but, I needed something to be official with as a nonprofit classification. So this was something that I definitely felt was important. So 501c3 it is. But with that being said, that is a goal of mine with Counter Trafficking Alliance, is to build out more housing resources and aftercare education resources. So really excited for that. But we are still ongoing with our research. Like I said, there is definitely a lot of work going on underway with the research, with residential facilities, resources, and volunteership, as well as some other information that we're uncovering. So it's all coming together. It's going to take a little time for us to get there. But once we have our data, then we're going to be able to ask the community, okay, this is what we need. So I'm very excited for that. But thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Yay, Nat, that's awesome. Good news to hear. Thank you so much. Megan says, congratulations. Thank you so much. Whoo, I thought it was going to take much longer, but I finally got my 501. So anyway, it's awesome. Countertraffickingalliance.com if you guys are interested. All right, and this is just another story coming from Fox 2 Now. Domestic violence organizations call for more resources as cases rise. Again, this is just another example. This is in St. Louis. I want to say Missouri, maybe St. Louis, Missouri. But this is domestic violence. The cases are on the rise, and again, when there's not enough room in shelters, and apparently there are some measures that they're trying to make shelters co-ed, which you don't want these shelters to be co-ed. And I don't know. There's just a lot going on, and there's a lot of research that we're going to go into. But with that being said, this is definitely a portion that we are working on. But again, this is just another story to illustrate that there are more resources needed. Tupacalypse says, have you seen the Texas governor's press conference on how he wants to sue TikTok for human trafficking? Yes, I have. Now, the thing about Abbott, for those that have known me and have watched me, you guys know that I am very much against. I'm not a fan of Governor Abbott. He's had a long tenure as governor. to do what he needed to do to combat trafficking and secure the border. And he, only because of pressure and because of the midterms coming up and the gubernatorial elections, has only started talking about these points. So, which is why I just, he does these things, I think, to pander, and because he's trying to really gain that vote for gubernatorial. But I think this year, I think this is the year that's up. I think people are finally fed up of false promises not fulfilled. So anyway, yeah, Governor Abbott can say he's gonna sue TikTok, but he's had all of this time, especially when TikTok was first pointed out by Trump. Remember, like, Trump wanted to ban the app, that he got pushback by the courts, I believe, and he wasn't able to ban it. And actually, something very interesting to TikTok. I actually heard this from a podcast. I saw a clip on my Instagram feed by what's his name? Andrew Schultz, I think that's a comedian. He has his podcast, and he said something, he pointed something really important out about all this. But TikTok in China, their algorithms, the way that they reward the algorithms in China for TikTok is that they have their young people doing really constructive things like building robotics or engineering or computer science, anything like that. And so when you do something really achievable like that in China, then their algorithm rewards them like the virality and the notoriety and all that. In the USA, what's rewarded with algorithm is like the TikTok dances, doing the bare minimum. And I thought that was so interesting, because it's like, how would you deploy out psychological warfare in a different country where you own the technology there? So China owning TikTok in the United States and deploying out in the United States, they reward the TikTok users in the United States by doing the bare minimum. So, TikTok dances get rewarded to go viral. But versus their virality algorithms in China are like, you got to do something smart. So their youth do something smart. Isn't that interesting? Again, this was taken straight from, I think his name is Andrew Schultz. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken his name, but I took that straight from him. That's not my thought, but I just had to regurgitate that because I just thought that was interesting. So yeah, human trafficking in the United States. You don't think that TikTok doesn't know about that? They'll censor your opinion politically on there, but they won't censor human traffickers, from Mexico soliciting people to come over. You don't think that that's intended? I thought that's just strange. Actually, that might be a piece tomorrow. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Nightly with Natalie. I know this was a bit short today, but I've definitely got to keep it short today. Thanks for your support, and thank you for my mods. What's up, Rocky? Nice to see you. I will catch you guys in tomorrow's episode. I won't be late. I'll be on time tomorrow. So thank you again. I love you. Have a great night and rest easy. And for those listening to me in the morning, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natalie Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.